Hello, friends, fellow gamers, and welcome to Vuln for Dragon Age Resurgence. I had a great time.
Yay!
It was a lot of
This
fun.
is vlog number 11. Yes. So, anyone who would like to start? feel
Brought to you
free.
by Paint's Practical Products.
Yes. Amniotic fluid for her.
Not my finest hour. Yeah.
As well as
Yeah.
Paint's Practical Ponies, who seem to be fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we need our ponies.
We left them with lots of food, guys. They're okay.
They'll be fine. They might outlast us.
So, session 11.
Yes.
Holy
I loved
moly.
it.
It was very nice to finally get to watch Theo and King Kine do their thing.
Yeah, I was a little nervous about that.
Not to put you in the spot on the spot in Andrew's presence, Hannah, but like what were your feelings going into this session? Did you feel nervous? Did you feel some pressure? Like what is
I did feel very nervous, mainly because I was going into it with a very rough idea of their characters, but I couldn't really predict how they were going to interact physically as an RP. I knew that Theoben was part of the Resistance, but Andrew and I hadn't really talked beforehand about their relationship or how close or not close they might have been. That's why when I got a message from you saying, come up with an anecdote for you and King Kine, I just went with what Theo does best, which is messing up poisons. So I thought that was a safe bet, and I'm glad that Andrew went along with it, and actually used it as a recurring joke within the session, which was really cool. Yeah, very nerve-wracking.
I love how the story that both you and King Kine ended up being a thing throughout the session.
Yeah.
It was great.
So I was hoping that would happen. That was a very big reason why I made that today's warm-up, because I was hoping you could use some of the stories, and you actually surpassed it, and just it ended up being an ongoing running gag all throughout the session. So I was very pleased to see that.
I'm curious as to what Andrew's reaction was when he heard me say that anecdote.
Yeah, my initial idea for Hark's exercise was to weave us in somehow for what we did on that that day, because that's what I remember from the last campaign. I played the one session, and it was overthrowing Bronca, and so that's all I really had to work with, and I wanted to tie whatever this event was to that, because it was most significant for me and what I was most comfortable with. And I thought, as soon as you said that, I like kind of to make jokes and make things humorous more often than not. So I thought that would be, I'd do the bait and switch of very serious, very powerful moments, and then I decided once you said the banana thing to include that as the punchline at the end of that story. So that worked really well. Yeah, as a means to be able to connect them, but also because they're not friends exactly, but the idea that comrades in arms and what most friends have is stories of funny moments or weird things that stand out. That's what they remember. And I thought that would be a nice way to more personalize it and have them have that connection, at least, though they've been pretty far apart since then.
I wanted to ask Andrew a question to follow up with that, because this is his second time, at least for this campaign. He's probably done it for other campaigns, being a guest character, and going back into Kine after playing him in the previous season. Do you have an advice, Andrew, for people who find themselves just kind of going into a group of players in an established campaign, going into a one-shot session with them for your character? and the challenges of that, especially because you basically have a story to tell in that one session, in that one slice. And there might be a lot of lore that you don't fully understand. You don't fully get the whole campaign because you're just not present. What advice do you have for people who find themselves in that situation?
What benefited me a lot was us having our conversation and really picking the brain of the DM, not just to find out what's been going on in the campaign or the lore of the world or those things. But very importantly, what do they want from you? If they could, what is their desire for the outcome of this session? They're inviting you on not because, oh, well, I owe you a favor, so I'm going to include you in the session. Just you play whatever. It's very specific why someone would be brought in, and the DM has a very clear thing in mind. And so to ask them lots of questions to make that very, very clear. And so I kept, Ark, what do you want out of this session? What should he be doing? And then I tried to tailor all my responses to be geared towards including those primary things. It's not about me. It's in like, oh, I get to play kind, I get to do it. Other than the throwing 3 axes, that was all me. I needed that. The rest of it is just more, how can I contribute to this story? How can I deepen the experience? What can I do to make this better for everyone else? And that should be everyone's attitude, I think. Generally, player, DM, guest player, anything, what can I do to make this better for everyone? But even more so, keep that in mind when you're a guest, and not only just campaign. This is Hark's campaign, and Hark, you all know, and I'm sure you've realized it. Very lucky to have Hark as a DM because there are many
Yeah.
atrocious DMs. There's even fine DMs who do not put as much effort and time into this. So this is like a very lovingly crafted thing, and you didn't include Kitty Love, so it's super important to do that. You'll never give it up. It's fine. But to be able to come in, it's just very kind of like an honorable thing, or very. I feel honored and I feel great to be able to contribute to something so many people love and care about. These are really highly anticipated and look forward to a story that people are just really loving with characters that they love. To be a part of that and just look for the way that you can help it the most. That was my philosophy, and that'd be my recommendation for anybody coming in to be this kind of role.
Just to provide some behind the scenes. So Andrew and I had sat down because I gave him a briefing. It was a nice 45-minute, 1 hour long briefing, just to dump as nothing, basically everything that I thought would be applicable to the session and what May brought up. Like I informed him of Kal-Sharok and the differences between Kal-Sharok and Orzammar and the relationship. I informed him of what's going on with the council, and yeah, he has his notes. He has his notes right there, which I can show. Those are the notes he said. Wow, you took a lot of notes. But I told him about the council. I didn't mention Sevion because his character hadn't met Sevion yet. So I was very careful to keep certain things in the dark for him so it would allow him to role play better. But he asked a lot of questions, and the question that he asked about what do you want my character to do? What's your goal for Kyne's character in the session was a question that took me by surprise, and I'm happy that he asked me that question. Yes. So that was the big answer, was challenge the party about their view on the Darkspawn, because going into this, you, the players, are very sympathetic towards the Darkspawn's cause. But not everybody is like that, because most people had very negative experiences with Darkspawn, and you had the benefit of having a Darkspawn in your party. So I needed Kyne. He's a very likable character, but I needed him to challenge that a little bit. And I told Andrew, if there's a way that you can, realistically within character, challenge them about the other side of the coin, about some of the doubts that you have about these talking Darkspawn, because I don't think that Kal-Sharok may not necessarily be the warmest of dwarves, but their reaction to Darkspawn and their attitude towards Darkspawn is not completely like it's there's something to it. It's not completely dismissive. So I told Andrew, challenge them, and if they manage to convince your character towards their side, then great. But at least I wanted to provide some sort of perspective that they need to be able to consider and overcome if they want to overcome it. So, and I think he did that very beautifully.
Yeah.
Beautifully.
So with that in mind, was there anything that came out of the session you didn't expect, Hark?
Oh, me personally?
Yeah.
I did not expect for you to win over both factions. I did not. I expected you to have to be forced to choose one or the other. The fact that you were able to successfully trick the Paragon elect into thinking, well, and that was all Andrew. Andrew in his deception role was able to trick the Paragon elect into thinking that is the leader, the architect, was pretty key, and not even mentioning anything about the good talking Darkspawn was probably important, because I'm sure Paragon elect would have not liked that at all. That was probably the biggest thing that I was surprised by.
Uh-huh. And what about the combat itself? How did you think that worked out? How we played?
I tried to design the combat in such a way that it gave you guys a chance to go about it in multiple different ways. I was trying to keep things open-ended. I went in having a couple of ideas of how you could have attacked that problem, but I was trying to encourage you to ask me however many questions you wanted in order to help figure out, problem solving, what's the best way to do this. Because I was thinking maybe you could lure the mother out into the open and then drop the stalactites on top of her. You could have the fact that you rushed through and just beelined it over towards her was probably a very good call as well. I mean, it worked successfully. But I also wanted to give you creatures that were, some of the creatures that were easy to kill, some of the creatures were intermediate. The Hurlocks were the intermediate creatures. Obviously, the children were the ones you could just squash, maybe even one hit. And then you had the heavyweight. So there were different degrees, different levels. I purposely threw in the emissaries in particular because Cedric had just got his new Templar toys, and I wanted him to be able to feel like he could use those Templar toys. Andrew was very key in providing Theoben with some area of effect stuff for Theoben, because I thought that would be a really cool thing to give to him.
Yeah, totally.
What I was very pleased about with the combat in general, and Hannah was the one who mentioned this during our break, is that everybody had a role to play in that combat. I think everyone used their strengths, and everyone had something to do, useful things to do all throughout that fight. Everybody had a chance to shine, and as a DM, that is extremely rewarding to see, because I feel like it's something that everybody was able to contribute, Andrew included. And Matthias contributed very well.
Yeah. You named him, so we had to keep him alive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was even ready. I was like, I've got a res spell now. I'm gonna save him if he dies.
Yes. Matthias now needs an
Would he have thanked you for
campaign.
that,
I don't know, but I loved him.
As I said, he needs a bigger role now. I should be rewarded.
Oh,
We should be
no.
rewarded for him surviving.
New companion.
Andrew brought something up. Do you guys think that the combat is too easy? Do you want me to try to bump it up a little bit, or do you think it's just right, or what? Because I tried to give you some where you can just crush enemies left and right, but maybe I need to ease up on that and give you more challenging things. I don't know.
For myself, I think that part of the reason that today's battle went so well was because A, we had quite a few backups, B, at least 3 of us had brand new awesome stuff to play around with.
Mhm.
But in general, I have not found much difficulty with not difficulty, I'm sorry. I like right now that it's kind of more roleplay than battle. Um, I still feel a challenge generally with our battles, and that's kind of the important thing to me, that they're still
Mhm.
challenging without, you know,
Yeah.
getting in the way of us actually doing the role playing, which is where I sit. So for
Mhm.
now, my vote would be, you're doing great.
Okay. But please be honest if you want me to adjust anything. How about the rest
Yeah.
of you?
Yeah, the only thing I would say is that, again, kind of latching on to the first point that Rachel made, is that we're all getting better stuff and we're all improving. So I think the only thing to be aware of is to make sure our enemies are improving with us.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, the mother was a significant challenge enough that we, she she provided, I think, a sufficient challenge for us. I think, especially with that will effect, that really
Yeah.
threw a lot of the party off, and that's good.
The Herlock could have messed you up pretty badly if you didn't kill him as quickly as you did, because
Sure.
he had some pretty nasty hexes. Having a disadvantage on rolls is pretty brutal.
I think as far as like the challenge part was, I agree with both, kind of like uh, for like the heavy hitter kind of people, like the Brood Mother or whoever else we face down the road. Yeah, they should definitely be scaled up
Mm-hmm.
with us so that it like adds more depth to like, all right, we're gonna go and kill this, but like we just became gods and we just kind of run in there and just slaughter everything. But in terms of like the smaller creatures, I think you were completely fine with putting those in, because I mean, not everything is going to be scaled up to us. Like we will encounter smaller things that we can just kind of brush aside.
Yeah.
So I think having a nice balance like this battle was very good.
I also, again, I also was trying to make this combat in such a way where if you play it smartly, it'll be easier. So this could have been a lot more challenging fight for you if you made different decisions. So I'd like to say that as a GM, I try to reward players for making smart tactics. So if you wanted to challenge yourself, be dumber. If you want to challenge yourself, be dumber, and then it'll be a
I'm
harder
sorry.
battle. But
That is quite impossible. I'm sorry.
So, but I will definitely look into ramping up like the difficulty of like the boss characters.
Yeah.
Because I think the mother is one of the first boss characters that you were running into.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'll see about doing that specifically. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that, Andrew? Go ahead.
I think you're entirely appropriate and correct in it's not so much calculating for the individual battle itself, but finding where does that battle fit in with what you've been doing and what you will be doing, and taking into the factors of sometimes it's really just great, especially when you give them new abilities, new weapons, a massive amount of cleavage as we saw today. To be able to just let a hero feel heroic. If you're always scaling the challenges perfectly up to they never feel like really daunting, strong. If you've had a lot of heavy combats or single target combats and include transition to a couple fights with a lot of little minions, changing up the flavor, changing up the tone is a really great thing to do. And I was mostly joking about the too easy part. I've heard that from time to time, and it's a careful balancing act between how do you because it's so much is up to the dice. And I know a little less in Dragon Age with 3d6 instead of a d20 determining the outcome, but I felt it was appropriate, and having lots of things to do for each person is really great. Having it can be very challenging to give everyone a role, especially non-combat characters or characters focused on other aspects. You also want to give stuff for the characters who are very combat focused. So how do you balance between those? I thought it was good and a good fit for this, certainly.
I was just going to say that is a huge positive that I would say for that combat. It was that there was a lot to do. Like there wasn't, as I've already kind of alluded to, nobody was just sitting there. Everybody had a role, and that was because there was so many elements to that combat. There was lots to do, and it was good. It really contributed to that busy feeling, very chaotic, and we were all able to find something for our characters to participate in.
Yeah, totally.
If I were to critique myself again, I consider combat aspects to be my weakest point as a GM. I revel in the role playing aspect, so I'm constantly trying to be better with combat to make it more challenging when it needs to be challenging, and giving players again the chance to feel heroic, and also just to make the combat move faster. That's a big challenge for I think all GMs, is to make it faster, especially when you have a party of 5, 6 with Andrew plus the NPCs, and I try to do what I can to speed through that as quickly as possible. And fortunately, my campaigns don't tend to have a lot of combat, so that's good because it's not my strength. But when I do combat, I'm trying to do better at that, so I appreciate all of the feedback. So.
I thought one thing that you did really well was telling us when we were on deck. That was good.
Yes.
It was really, really
just
helpful.
To keep it.
Like, we have it in front of us, the visual, but it's still nice to hear it. And
Yeah.
I felt like that was probably also a nudge from the GM to, be ready, don't take too long.
Well, I gotta jump in here just to, 'cause I need to jump off. To say thank you so much, Hark, for inviting me to this. It's really great to reprise a great character in a world that is really lovingly crafted, and a story that is the players and the DM and the audience care about it a lot. To all the players here, I really enjoyed getting to play with you and meet you, and it was a great session and great role playing, and I really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for including me and having me along.
Of course.
Thank you
Great
so
to have
much.
you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Andrew, for asking. Like, you actually asked me if you had a role to play in this instead of me asking you. So thank you very
Aw.
much. And along with all of the other videos of Andrew in the session, I will have links in the description to his site. If you guys could please visit him for awesome role-playing tabletop tips and tricks and Pathfinder goodies, please go to visit Andrew's channel. So
Happy gaming, everybody.
happy gaming.
Happy
Happy
gaming.
gaming.
See ya. Okay.
oh man, my nickname for Hannah is Hannah Banana, and look what came up today.
Oh dear.
Banana.
It's fate. So there was one more thing I had wanted to bring up about the battle, and
Go ahead.
Another thing I particularly liked about it was that it was not only did you have enough for everybody to do their own special things in, but whether through pure chance or what have you, there was still an opportunity for in character things to happen. Example, Andrea being caught on the opposite side of the room. I know from an in character perspective, Hallison really wanted to go take care of her, but it's like, oh well, I can either kill the mother and stop this now, or I can go take care of my Andrea. So that is actually going to be the private session we're going to do next time, because
Okay.
Hallie needs to have some speaks with Andrea about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I liked that even in the chaos there was this opportunity for the in-character emotions to take part.
I kind of liked that with playing Theo as well, because it was like Andrea got hurt right next to him. I was like, yeah, he's not having that.
And he was protecting her. It was so cute.
And then Razzie got there first, so otherwise he would have helped her try to lift the rock, even though he has terrible strength. But
me too.
when Razzie went over there, so I was like, okay, but he would still want to make sure she's safe, so he held the position there to make sure nothing went past him. And he was encouraging Raziel. But yeah, I liked that little bit of in character come out.
Totally.
And she came out of that with a fireball too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Andrea was
Did.
not useless.
She was just sick of feeling useless, so.
Yes, she was not useless in that battle at all. She contributed. So.
She was like, oh man, I've been sitting here for 2 full rounds. Like everybody's fighting around me. I gotta kill something.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I'm really glad that like Cedric didn't see that, because Cedric would have left, because he is charged to her. But luckily, you did throw those other mages in there, because that like he was like, I don't really give a crap about you, Brood Mother. There are Darkspawn mages. Like, and I said this earlier in the session. It was like, yeah, I don't really know about Darkspawn that much. It's not really my thing, but there are mages. Like, what? This isn't good.
I'm curious. Did anyone else, having played Awakening, see that revelation the mother was going to give coming? Because I saw that coming a mile away.
Yeah. Andrea definitely didn't, but yeah. Oh.
I'm surprised there wasn't more of a reaction, and it
Me
kind
too.
of scared Cedric that there was not more of a reaction, because it's like, like,
Yeah.
like that's why he went over to at least Kenna, because he knew that she was an Avar, and he doesn't know specifics about it, but he knows enough that like Ferelden and the Avar pretty much got crushed. So it was like, I just want to make sure that
I thought about it though, and when I thought back to the events that happened to Orzammar, actually very little of that was the Blight. A lot of that was Branka. She found the anvil, she used the anvil, and she took over Orzammar and then turned everyone into golems. Like, very little of that. The only thing that the Blight did was the dwarves were unable to ally with the Grey Wardens because they were having their own political troubles. Like, the Blight did actually very little to what happened in Origins, and that was what I was thinking when that revelation came out, and when I was considering how Theo would react. If he were asked, he would say, actually, Branka did worse to Orzammar than the Blight did.
And Andrea, I mean, she lost a lot of people during the Blight, but it was because some blood mages, not because of the Blight itself. It was blood mages. So.
I think Hallie's reaction was strangely internal, because she has a lot of thoughts to work through on this, because, you know, he's doing some good now, but he also caused the 5th blight, which wiped out her land, her people.
But the why is everything.
The why is everything. And that is why she did not explode.
And he explained why. He wasn't trying to start the 5th blight. He was trying to do the opposite. Right. It was not intentional, but he went in knowing that there was a risk, and he felt that the risks outweighed the benefits, and was hoping that it turned out differently, but it didn't end up turning out the way it did.
Right, so. Absolutely. Yeah.
Cedric would have not forgiven. Like, you don't just play with people's lives like that.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like blood magic. It's like, oh well, I can use this to like try and change things, but I can hurt a lot of people in the end.
But if it worked, but even still, it's like, all right, you're playing with fire and you get burned. Obviously, like look at what you did. Like, you had good intentions, yes, but how are you going to explain to all these people that you were the reason that like their families are gone and stuff? Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
But I mean, Cedric didn't like experience any of that, but that's what his mindset would have been if he did.
Right.
Sure.
Which is why I am glad that Cedric went to talk to Kenna about that, because I'm sure that affected Kenna deeply.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot she's going through right now.
And knowing,
session.
like, I don't know, Kenna, do you see yourself talking about this with any of the other players or any of the other NPCs? Maybe even Razakale, if you want to talk to Razakale about it. 'Cause...
I guess this would be like a little sneak peek, but she's definitely gonna talk to Esbjorn.
Okay.
Like actually talk to him.
Interesting.
Aw.
That would be really cool.
Yeah. I was hoping to do it this session before the big battle, but I think it makes more sense to do it afterwards now. So
Now
Yeah.
knowing
Yeah.
what you know.
yeah. So I'm looking forward
Aw.
to that.
That'll be awesome. Oh.
Yeah.
But for me, it wasn't that I was held back. It was that I couldn't see my people anymore when I was under the rocks. So I was like, oh my god, they're in that room. They might be dying. Like.
Yeah, I sent a message to Kimberly during the combat saying, okay, Theo will find a potion to make you faster. I will work on
Oh.
it.
But until then, strength and conditioning regiments start tomorrow.
Yeah, look at you're gonna have to do stairs.
Yes, time to go up those stairs.
Welcome to boot camp.
Bully.
There are far more fun ways to get your workout.
What are you talking about?
Nothing at all.
I think she's talking about Razakine.
No.
Razakine. Razakine.
Which totally should happen, by the way.
Yes, they unite two kingdoms in marriage.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
I like that. Arranged marriage always
Oh
works.
my gosh.
I'm actually impressed that I managed to keep Razakel's identity a secret through the entire
Yeah, I was worried about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Razakel was not. She was having a lot of issues.
Yeah.
No.
I didn't
Clearly.
like Theo. There was a lot that Theo was gonna tell King Kine because there was that trust there, and he deserved to know. But even up till the very end of the session, there was still that wariness, and Theo didn't want to test that with Razakel, and with Razakel being in an unstable state of mind as well, it just seemed too shaky. So if Theo could have kept that to himself, he was gonna.
After all that, I so want to talk to Razakel. Like I've got
I'm
to,
sure.
I've got to
Yeah.
talk to Razakel after all of that.
Mhm.
She and I are
I think
BFFs.
At the moment, we're all making lists of people we need to talk to, catching up on RP next session.
I know.
Yay!
RP heavy next session.
Yeah.
I was like, I wrote from last week on my notes. I was like, must talk to Theoben and Cedric, and then I forgot why. So I asked Hannah. And I was like, why do I need to talk to you this session? She told me. We didn't get to it. Next time.
Next time. So there's probably going to be a lot of RP next session. So it's
Also,
like
add
follow up on the events. Yeah. Follow up on the events session.
Thanks,
wait.
Cedric, for letting me turn into wind.
Again, don't get used
Yeah.
to that. Don't get used to
It's
that.
gonna be like every other day.
It's- that was very situational. 'Cause, like I said last vlog, after he saw the fire tornado, he was like, no, what? This is not good. Like,
I have a feeling he's really not going to enjoy Eagle's Reach then.
I did like how Cedric is growing with his own bracer, like when he
Yeah.
did that lightning jump and then he
Yeah.
came out into an attack.
Yeah.
I really like that. I like to see that growth with
Yeah.
his like
Yeah.
own comfortability with
He's
his bracer.
embracing the
The
bracer. Embracing.
That's great.
Yes, I went there.
Oh gosh. I was wondering, Hark, what would have made? I felt like Razakel was very close to just being like, "All right, you people, I'm done with you." What would have made that happen? Because I feel like we were pretty close.
Yeah, it felt like we were coming up to a crisis point with Razakel.
Yeah. Where she would just like, leave.
Yeah.
A lot of it was dependent on how well you were successful in convincing King Kine, because he seemed to be having a hard time, at least at first, convinced to trust these Darkspawn. Gorham made very reasonable musings,
Mhm.
especially considering how it's his job to keep his liege, his king, safe.
Mhm.
obviously some of the things he said made Raziel uncomfortable, but again, Gorham's just trying to protect his king and his people. So if you did not manage to successfully convince King Kine towards your side as much, then yeah, there would have been an issue with Raziel. She might have, did some things that she rather would not have done. So yeah, it's good that you avoided that. That would have been a problem.
Rosie.
Oh, Rosie.
I learned ancient Tavine for you, Rosie. How could you?
And Theo's an ambassador now.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Yeah, that was interesting. Like, I can't say I saw that coming when I started this campaign. So
That you would be an ambassador between Darkspawn and dwarves.
Yeah, that wasn't really anywhere on my radar, so well done.
Yeah. I think that Kine's decision to make a secret alliance makes sense. We will see what the consequences of a secret alliance will be moving forward. But it's interesting to speculate and guess what will come out of that in the future seasons, knowing that you've got this we've got this trade route going on between the Darkspawn and the Orzammar, but we're not telling the public about it, and if any of the public catches wind of it,
There'll be a lot
Where is this extra money
yeah. We're getting a lot of lyrium from right now. Where are all these lyrium coming from?
The miners are just having a good decade.
Good decade. Lovely.
Love it.
They could also be finding dwarven artifacts lost in the deep roads as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, Kevin. I got your message too late about that.
Oh no, it's okay.
Don't forget the dwarven artifacts. Like,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
Because like we can find new,
Especially the red ones.
Yeah, let's leave those.
Especially the red idol-looking ones.
No. You do that to us hot.